or not, we are being inundated with bicentennial products. In 1975, when you bought deodorant, it was deodorant. But this year, it's bicentennial deodorant. Last year, a toilet seat was a toilet seat. This year, sporting red, white, and blue trim, it's a bicentennial toilet seat. From commemorative lapel pins to caskets, this is the year of the bicentennial sales pitch. And the people pushing all those products are swarming into the San Diego Bicentennial Committee office to have them endorsed. In 1976, it's the next best thing to having Ben Franklin do it.
Happy birthday, Uncle Sam!
ABC News goes to the Great American Birthday Party. From the American Broadcasting Company's Bicentennial Center in New York City, Harry Reisner.
Good morning. We're here, and we'll be here throughout the day in this red, white, and blue studio to take a look at what the second oldest major continuing nation in the world is doing to celebrate the 200th anniversary of its independence. My inclination was to open each of the 3-hour-long programs we have scheduled by setting off a 4-inch firecracker. Cooler heads prevailed. It's not only illegal, but we couldn't figure out which union would have jurisdiction. That's one of the things that is different from 200 years ago. Another is that we can sit here like a patriotic spider at the center of a national electronic web and look at things from East Eagle Jaw, Maine to Falling Arches, Oregon. 200 years ago, it took until August for the word of independence to get to Georgia from Philadelphia. What happened this bicentennial is that in a dozen years of backing and filling and argument, we never did decide on one big national celebration, and maybe that was a good thing, because what filled the void was a lot of special things around the country. We'll be looking at them as they happen all day, from sunrise to sunset, in a country so broad it takes 24 hours for the sun to rise and set on its flag, and so tall you can hear speeches in a dozen accents and a half-dozen American languages. We'll be dropping in on the Great American Birthday Party across the land. Just a sample right now, beginning with Dick Shoemaker in San Francisco.
Harry, we're standing in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. The only problem is right now you can't see it because of all the fog. But then again, that's San Francisco. 200 years ago this year, on the other side of where the Golden Gate Bridge is now, Spanish soldiers planted a cross and founded the city of San Francisco. So we're celebrating two big events here, even though the people of San Francisco seldom need a reason to have a party. We started this one early. We taped the sunrise, 5:51 officially this morning, and all day here in San Francisco there are going to be parades and festivals and fireworks. And on the bay itself, 4,000 pleasure boats are supposed to be gathering, reminding us that San Francisco is still a creature of the sea. This is Dick Shoemaker overlooking Golden Gate Bridge.
We've gotten lucky in St. Louis. After several days of miserable weather, the sun is shining brightly, and so much the better for the 500,000 people who will be gathering here at the base of the Gateway Arch. It's the nation's highest national monument, built as a memorial to the early pioneers who came through this city. The Mississippi is, of course, probably America's greatest river, so most of the activity today will be focused on the banks of the Mississippi. And American music is the theme of this bicentennial celebration. So along with the river activity, there'll be performances by all sorts of jazz, blues, and Dixie groups. A barge will leave later for New Orleans carrying a brass band which will play all along the way. We're also going to see a race between two stern-wheelers. There will be an aerobatic show. We're going to have fun in St. Louis. I'm Ron Miller at the Gateway Arch.
Welcome to Independence Hall, Philadelphia, the birthplace of our nation, the first capital of the United States. President Ford is here and will speak shortly. So too will Miss Marian Anderson, the former star of Metropolitan Opera, who will read excerpts from the Declaration of Independence. A little later, there will be a symbolic ringing of the Liberty Bell, symbolic because of its crack, but there will be a ringing of the Centennial Bell, which will ring 13 times in honor of the 13 original colonies. Also, there is a gigantic parade scheduled here, 5.5 hours long, that will involve about 35,000 people. The stars of the parade will be our 50 states. Finally, security here is very tight, not just because President Ford is here, but also because there are two large demonstrations planned that may involve about 35,000 people. I'm Jim Walker at Independence Hall in Philadelphia.
Well, it could hardly be better. The Lincoln Memorial is well attended by celebrators of America's birthday, and from here we can follow Lincoln's gaze across the reflecting pool to the Washington Monument and the Capitol Dome beyond. If there's a better view in Washington, I've been misled. Over to the right of us, the Festival of American Folklife, where we'll pass the day and we'll likely enjoy every minute. It's all American. The way we work at various trades, the ways we worship, the music that makes us sing, all in a setting quite reminiscent of a good old-fashioned county fair. Perfect scenes to whet the appetite for hot dogs and beer. Jim Kincaid at the Lincoln Memorial.
I'm at the other end of the mall from where Jim just reported. This is the foot of Capitol Hill, and this is the People's Bicentennial Celebration. There won't be much happening here for at least a half an hour because most of the people are on their way over here from the Jefferson Monument, where they held a church service this morning. Throughout the day here, we're going to have speeches and entertainment. Speeches decrying big business's role in the current American scene, calling for a new revolution, a revolution against what big business is doing to the country. This is a counter-demonstration, in effect. A lot of people are heading here now. They'll be here very soon. There's a young group reminiscent of Woodstock, of May Day, of all of the early protest demonstrations. Part of the theme is if Sam Adams were alive today, he would be raising hell. There will be some hell raised here, but it'll only be verbal. Roger Peterson, ABC News at the People's Bicentennial.
This is Battery Park in Lower Manhattan. Wave after wave of immigrants have landed at this spot or near it over the past 200 years, and many of them settled within a few blocks of here. The old neighborhoods still dot the Lower East Side, and this afternoon each of these ethnic centers will be hosting folk festivals. But this morning, all attention is focused out there, just out of sight, beyond Governor's Island and Verrazano Narrows, where that incredible fleet of tall ships stands ready to make its approach up the Hudson River. And then tonight, a fireworks display to dwarf anything that's gone before, shooting up from Governor's Island and Ellis Island, from barges on the water, and from the centerpiece, the Statue of Liberty. This is Ted Koppel in Battery Park.
Just a sample of what we're going to be able to see today. On the afternoon of July 4th, 1776, in Philadelphia, the men who had approved the Declaration of Independence heard a letter from General Washington in New York. A fleet of 110 British warships had gathered in New York Harbor. They carried an invading army. Today, the tall ships have returned. This time, they come in peace. We'll spend some time with Operation Sail in a moment.
Fortunes and our sacred honor.
It looks like
the world did not go small for America's bicentennial in 1975 and 1976. Main Street was decked out with patriotic bunting and decorations. The star of it all was America on Parade, which debuted in June 1975 as Disney's giant salute to the country's 200th birthday. The procession rolled through American history with oversized floats, towering characters, and a style that was more pageant than parade. Disney topped the celebration off with the Sky Spectacular Salute fireworks, done entirely in red, white, and blue. Do you think Disney's 250th plans match their bicentennial spectacular? Disney World
is about to speak now.
okay.
Thank you very much, Charlton Heston, Mayor Rizzo, Governor Schaaf, Reverend clergy, distinguished members of Congress, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On Washington's birthday in 1861, a fortnight after 6 states had formed a confederacy of their own, Abraham Lincoln came here to Independence Hall, knowing that in 10 days he would face the cruelest national crisis of our 85-year history. I am filled with deep emotion, he said, finding myself standing here in the place where collected together the wisdom, the patriotism, the devotion to principle from which sprang the institutions under which we live. Today, we can all share these simple, noble sentiments. Like Lincoln, I feel both pride and humility, rejoicing and reverence, as I stand in the place where 2 centuries ago the United States of America was conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. From this small but beautiful building, then the most imposing structure in the colonies, came the 2 great documents that continue to supply the moral and intellectual power for the American adventure in self-government. Before me is the great bronze bell that joyously rang out the news of the birth of our nation from the steeple of the State House. It was never intended to be a church bell. Yet a generation before the great events of 1776, the elected Assembly of Pennsylvania ordered it to be inscribed with this biblical verse: "Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." The American settlers had many, many hardships, but they had more liberty than any other people on earth. That was what they came for and what they meant to keep. The verse from Leviticus on the Liberty Bell refers to the ancient Jewish year of Jubilee. In every 50th year, the Jubilee restored the land and the equality of persons that prevailed when the children of Israel entered the land of promise. And both gifts came from God, as the Jubilee regularly reminded them. Our founding fathers knew their Bibles as well as their Blackstone. They boldly reversed the age-old political theory that kings derive their powers from God, and asserted that both powers and unalienable rights belong to the people as direct endowments from their Creator. Furthermore, they declared that governments are instituted among men to secure their rights and to serve their purposes, and governments continue only so long as they have the consent of the governed. When George Washington, already commanding the American Continental Army in the field, the Second Continental Congress met here in 1776, not to demand new liberties, but to regain long-established rights which were being taken away from them without their consent. The American Revolution was unique and remains unique in that it was fought in the name of the law as well as liberty. At the start, the Declaration of Independence proclaimed the divine source of individual rights and the purpose of human government as Americans understood it. That purpose is to secure the rights of individuals against even government itself. But the Declaration did not tell us how to accomplish this purpose or what kind of government to set up. First, our independence had to be won. It was not won easily. At the nearby encampment of Valley Forge, the rude bridge at Concord, and the crumbling battlements of Yorktown bear vivid interest. We have heard much, though we cannot hear it too often, about 56 Americans who cast their votes and later signed their names to Thomas Jefferson's ringing Declaration of Equality and Freedom, so movingly read to us this morning by Miss Marian Anderson. Do you know what price the signers of that parchment paid for their patriotism, the devotion to principle of which Lincoln spoke? John Hancock